this computer. All right. Welcome, Alexandra, to this. Well, we're doing all the things. We're going live. We're going to make it into a podcast and a YouTube, and I might even put it on Instagram TV. So welcome.
Wow, lots going on over here. I love it.
I would love to just read a little bit about Alexandra before I let her formally introduce herself. It's just very few short sentences. But with me today, I have a very special guest, Alexandra Gould. And Alex is a certified life coach. She's a life strategist and confidence expert. And she helps women all over the world to live their most confident lives through mindset and strategy. So officially welcome, my love, to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm honored that you asked me.
Of course, you're so welcome. I have 10 questions I want to fire at you just to get to know you a little bit better and then to get into the groove, and then it's all going to be intuitive from there, but I do have questions that I'm going to pop in along the way when you share your story.
Yeah, sure.
All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You was born ready, girl. I always say it when everyone's like, are you ready? I'm like, I was born ready.
Heck
Even if
yeah.
I wasn't.
Oh,
okay.
I love it.
Where do you live?
So currently I actually live in Teaneck. That's actually a funny question because I'm in Teaneck, New Jersey in the United States. And we're in the midst of actually looking for a home right now. So we've this home market is ridiculous right now. Mm-hmm. So we've put an offer on 10 homes, but to no avail. So right now we're currently living with my husband's mother, which is nice because I feel like we're keeping her company. But yeah, so we're still in the midst of looking and looking in a town called Wyckoff in New Jersey where my sisters are living.
Wow, the right one will come. I mean, I know you know this. It's just divine timing and a lot of patience.
Definitely. It's so funny because I tend to be an optimist. And at this point right now, you know, when people are actually putting homes or they're paying for homes in full-blown cash, they're waiving the appraisal. I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'm like the typical optimist that I normally am as far as finally getting that home. But, you know, my husband are like, it is what it is. Like you said, it's it'll happen when it happens.
I feel you, and I know this is going to be 10 quick questions, but we're also in the same place. We're also looking for a house, and every time we see a house and we want to be interested, we get the response of the wait list is too big and it's already been sold without people even looking at it. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Right? It's ridiculous. It's crazy. You feel like you don't stand a chance at all, and it's not like you're being pessimistic. You're being realistic about the situation.
Yeah, it will come. It will all come.
Maybe we'll move in at the same time.
Yes, that would be awesome. All right, number 2, are you married and do you have children?
Yes, I am married. I am married to Keith Gould, and we have twins. So twins that are actually 8 years old, but next week, actually, they're turning 9 years old. So identical twin girls, Juliana and Isabella. And yeah, I met my husband way back when, and we've been together since 2011, July 10th. And yeah, we're raising our children together and doing our thing, and
happy birthday.
We're done. What'd you say?
Happy birthday for your girls for next week.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's April 29th.
Amazing. So, okay, finish my sentence. The world would be a better place if
everyone came from the place of love and compassion.
Hell yeah, I feel you on that. Mm-hmm. Okay,
right?
This is a very random one.
Oh, I love
you're
this.
In a jungle, you're in a jungle, and you come face to face with a rattlesnake. What do you do?
Run for the hills. Run as fast as I freaking can. Are you serious? I'm not staying there. I don't care if they say that when you move, the rattlesnake will get you. I will bust my butt as far away and as fast as I can.
I love that so much because when I wrote this question, I was like, what would I do? And then I was thinking, I think I would try and stay still and then gradually shift. But then in the moment, would you actually, or would you just be like, F this, I'm out of here?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. I just wouldn't. It reminds me of when they say if you are on fire, stop, drop, and roll. I'm like, I don't know if I could do that, or if I would just flail my arms left and right and bring more oxygen to the fire. So yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I don't know though. It makes you wonder, maybe in the moment I would freeze up and I just would be like a robot of sorts and just not move. But I'd like to believe that I would just run as fast as I could.
It's Great question. Okay, this might be difficult to answer. Your best life memory to date?
When the twins were born.
Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful.
And I think that there were two parts to that because, I just felt so lucky that we were able to have children and that they were healthy. And I think the reason, that made it even more special was the fact that at 26 weeks, I started having contractions and, they thought they might come early and that they could have a host of health problems. And they said if you could just get to 32 weeks was like the magical number for twins, because apparently the more children you have, whether it's twins, triplets, what have you, it allows you to like have them earlier when there's more of them. So with twins, they said if you could just get to 32 weeks, that would ensure that like their lungs would be developed and all of these things. And believe it or not, my water broke on the day of 32 weeks. And
Wow.
I was so happy that it happened then, because I was like, wow, I had like peace of mind. And I just was like, felt so lucky when I first saw them in the NICU and they were in one of those, NICU beds. I just was like crying. I was just like so emotional that like they were okay. And that I had like these two beautiful girls. So that was like a really special moment.
Wow. I'm not a mum yet. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not sure if it's going to be this lifetime or a different lifetime, but everyone I speak to who's a mum, I want to experience that love that
Mm-hmm.
you say you feel towards your children. Like I can't even imagine love that intense.
Yeah, it's crazy, Victoria. First of all, as you said that, I'm just like, I could see you being such an amazing mom because you just have such a good, warm energy. And I feel like, like I said before, it's like all about the love, the compassion, the acceptance. And yeah, it's like you don't realize until you have children, like you would risk, you would move mountains for them. You would do whatever it took. And also like, their pain becomes your pain. You never want to see them suffering, or in pain. So yeah, I mean, it's that unconditional love that's just amazing.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Sounds beautiful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do you have a love-hate relationship with, if anything?
Ooh, that's a good one. A love-hate relationship. Uh, hmm. I would say maybe at times it could be food.
Yeah, I can feel you on that
Like,
one, for sure.
right? I know, right? And how funny is that? And maybe I'm just like, my particular activating system is heightened with you and knowing that there's like a food correlation. But yeah, like I feel like, if I were to look at it over the course of years, I feel like there have been moments where like food, it was like, my weak foods are like, oh God, I hate these foods. I hate these foods. Whereas now I more so come from a place of like, I love these foods. Like I can eat them. Like, so it's like that love-hate relationship when you're feeling like not good about yourself. Like be a hate. Whereas like when you're good to go, you're feeling fit, you're feeling like, oh, I deserve this, or, what have you. Then it's like more of like a love relationship. And I could definitely love some really good desserts.
Oh, I'm a sugar girl too. Sugar
Are
all the
you?
way, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My go-to lately, I don't know if you ever do this, but my go-to is like a spoonful of peanut butter with whipped cream on it. I'm like obsessed.
I'm
Try.
gonna try that. I'm more of a Nutella kind of gal.
Ooh, that
Like
stuff is
in the
delicious.
midst of my disordered eating, which I'm not celebrating now, but it's quite funny what I used to do. I used to get a big jar of Nutella, stick it in the
Mhm.
microwave, obviously make sure the foil was off the top first because that doesn't go down well.
You're like electrocuted.
Yeah. Stick it in the microwave and just literally drink it like a hot chocolate. No joke, the whole jar.
Stop. Oh my gosh, that stuff is so good. You probably like those Ferrero Rocher balls too, because those remind me of them, the hazelnut ones.
Yeah, so good. Anything with
We could
chocolate in
just,
and I'm sold.
right? Let's just talk about food the whole rest of this
Yeah, I'm
conversation.
sure my listeners won't mind, to be honest, because my podcast is Break Free from Binge Eating. Of course, we bring personal development and everything's kind of intertwined with all of it. So,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
top 3 books that you've read.
Ooh, I love it. Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. Wonderful.
Mhm.
Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. Um, what would the third one be? I like a lot of like Gabby Bernstein, and I think it's because it really comes from that place of love and like acceptance and really like harnessing like the lack of resistance and just like letting it be. So I'd have to say she and like some of her books I really like. And I also like Brene Brown. But yeah, I would say definitely one of the top ones is Awaken the Giant Within, because Tony Robbins is just like a plethora of knowledge. Like he was obsessed with self-development and psychology and really just the statistics and the facts and like the proof. And I'm very much about like, tell me the proof, tell me that it's worked, tell me the results.
Yeah.
He's just such a bright individual. So that would be like my top out of all of them.
And it's what I love most about Tony is a love that you can literally feel from him
Mm-hmm.
on every level is just wow.
You're so right. That's what I really feel like. And it's funny. I don't know if you ever feel like this, but you almost feel like connected to someone in such a way that you're just like, wow, like, you know, he's one of them. It's like, I've never talked with him or anything, you know, but I've gone to many of his events. I've like went to Texas with my husband. Like my husband actually said yes, believe it or not, which was shocking because he's self-development. Um, so I was like, you're coming with me to Texas for 3-day event. I mean, granted, he like walked out at a certain point, was like, I need a little break. I'm going to go to a restaurant, because it was like 3 full days of like Tony Robbins, which to me, I'm like, this is great. I love it. Like let's make it 7 days. But yeah, so he's great. And I totally agree with you. I feel like he just like, I feel like there's part of him that like I see like myself in him, like a lot of times, like, and so that's maybe why I feel very like connected and drawn to like him and his message.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, your favorite movie, if you have a favorite.
Ooh. I love, oh my gosh, there's like a bunch of them actually. It's always so hard for me when someone asks me my favorite of something, because I never have like I mean, I can't say never, but I usually have like a few top ones. So when you said that, what comes to mind is I love Silver Linings Playlist. Is it Playlist or Playbook? Did you ever see that movie?
What is that?
Oh my gosh, it's such an amazing movie. It's about like a man that has bipolar disorder, and he ends up meeting a woman, and it's like through meeting this woman and falling in love with her, he like changes for the better and becomes this like amazing person, like both physically, mentally, emotionally, and their connection is just so like awesome. It's like it just encaptures like when you love someone, like you'll just like accept all of them, like, you know, and you'll really become like a better person because of them, and it will like motivate you to be a better person. And it's just like that message. I love that. And then also Love Actually. I love that movie. Holidays.
Yeah.
Actually, when Hugh Grant does a dance, I die. That one where he's dancing around the house as if no one's watching, and then all of a sudden he turns around and his assistant is like, okay, this meeting, and he's like, okay, like super uncomfortable. I love that scene.
Can you just tell me what was the first movie you said for our listeners? And I didn't catch it either.
Yeah, it's Silver Linings Playlist.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out. Thank you for that.
Such a good movie. You have to see it. Yeah, I really, I mean, but yeah, try it out.
Well, what's your favorite season of the year?
And also, by the way, Bradley Cooper is in that movie. Do you know Bradley Cooper?
I've definitely heard of him. I'm not. I'll know him when I see him, but I'm not very good at putting names to
Okay.
faces. But then when I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's him. Yeah.
You will hands down know him when you see him. He's like all around, like just such like he seems like he's such a good person, but he's really funny too. I saw him on an interview one time with Jimmy Fallon, and
Mm-hmm.
the two of them together were dying laughing. And it just seemed like the kind of person you want to spend the day with, like just having fun, laughing, being silly. Like it was funny.
Oh, I'll check that out for sure. I know I'll know him the second I see him, but it's
Yeah,
my brain's like
totally.
not linking. Yeah, your
Mhm.
favorite season of the year?
You know what's interesting is that it used to be summertime, because I love being out and, you know, wearing like not coats and all sorts of stuff. The second the weather like gets warmer, I'm like, take off the coat, take off all this stuff, like the hat. Like I like being like free more so. It used to be the summer, and I still love the summer, and I love like, you know, the beach and just getting outside, but the fall has really turned into one of my favorites as well. I'm really just drawn to it, and like the smell, the candles, the apple picking, like there's and that's, you know, when I start doing like a lot of my teaching too. So that like, you know, I think I just like correlate going back and doing that too as like fall. So yeah, I mean, I would have to say it would be a top between, see, there's going to be a theme here, Victoria. It's going to be when you ask me a favorite, I can't pick, it's going to be like 2 of them. If I had to choose, I would probably say summer.
It's really hot here. Like I'm literally in a summer dress and I've just been sat in the garden and I'm in the Netherlands. It's about 17 degrees centigrade, which is pretty
Okay.
nice.
Yeah.
But you guys do Fahrenheit,
That's
right?
like around probably like 70 degrees maybe here.
Um,
It's so funny, me with my math. So I'm thinking of the
Me too.
plate, right? 9/5 times what you just said. So I think, okay, 2 times, you said it's what degrees?
About 17.
17. So I'm thinking 34. Like, yeah, maybe like 70, I'm thinking, or yeah.
It's pleasant. It's just
Yes.
pleasant. So
And that's what it's supposed to be today. It's supposed to be 68 degrees, but believe it or not, on Wednesday, it's supposed to be 84 degrees, which is like
wow.
full blown tank top, shorts, and like call it a day.
Wow. Isn't the weather so random lately, honestly?
It really is. It was just 48 degrees like a couple of days ago, and now it's going to be 84 degrees.
Yeah, it's crazy. The world's going crazy.
I know, right? Totally.
And last question. I'm so honored that you are here, but why did you say yes to coming and sharing your message?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I said yes because I just like loved you when I had you on my live. And I was like, oh, I love her energy. I want to say yes to her. Like, I also want to reciprocate because, you are on mine. I want to be on yours. But really, whenever I say yes to a podcast, or just a live or whatever, it's really just, to give value to whoever is going to be listening. You never know who's going to chime in or watch something that it could change their life, or something that might just like strike, something for someone and help them. So, whenever I go on anything like this, it's really just to like give value or maybe something to someone that might be listening that could help them or change like the trajectory of their life.
I love that. And that brings me nicely on to you've said so many wise, valuable things because we've done a few things together already. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing that you said really, really, really stuck out to me. And even though I kind of knew it intellectually, it kind of changed me on an inside level. So, and I've not shared this with you. So what you said during one of our conversations, you said, I have a facial deformity, but why is that going to be living my life? And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, so like on a deep level, that was just so inspiring to me. So thank
Yeah.
you for being here.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what, honestly, Victoria, like that's like a major reason of what I do and like why I do it, is because I never want people to feel like, when you have a condition, whether it's a learning disability that you can't see, or whether it's like a facial condition, or maybe, you feel like you're super overweight and you're not happy in your skin, or whatever it might be, you lose a leg, or maybe up in a dysfunctional family and you feel like, that defines who I am. It's like, you've suffered enough. It's like, why suffer anymore? Like, it's a choice in how we respond to things. Like, it really, I think so many people feel like if I have this condition, then it needs to mean that like I need to be lacking the confidence and I need to be quiet. Like, I had someone ask me one time, like, God, how are you so confident with a facial deformity? And I thought to myself, wow, like, what's so interesting is my reaction to that was like, I felt like empowered. I was like, wow, I love the fact that like she, first of all, feels like this situation needs to end in this. So like facial deformity needs to be me lacking confidence, me feeling not enough, me feeling not pretty, me allowing it to like affect me and me to suffer even more than I already have. And I thought, wow, it was like, where some people would have been offended, I actually like it made me feel good because I was like, you know what? Yeah, like I made the decision that like this isn't going to affect me. Like I'm still going to be myself. I'm still going to be like who I am. Like I did a post about that. It's like when I look in the mirror sometimes, like it for whatever reason, I don't even know why it is, maybe but it's like it actually like makes my face look a little bit more even like different. And I'm used to it, but I noticed that when I look in the mirror, that it's like for a long time, it was like very uncomfortable for me. Like I'd come out stall, I'd go to wash my hands, and then like I'd be like quickly hurrying to like dry my hands off so that like someone wouldn't see me in the mirror. And then I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I'm just going to stay there, wash my hands, take my time. Like, I deserve to do that just like anyone else does. Like, I shouldn't change even more and be suffering even more than I already have. And like, at first it was uncomfortable, like to do that. But I feel like over time now, it doesn't even faze me. And you know what? Honestly, I look at it more so as like, you know what? Like if someone does choose to stare at me and like to the point where it's really staring, like then it's more on them. It's like, oh, I would never do that to someone. Like if I mean the second, and my daughters are like that too. It's like the second that we see someone that has something different, like they're not staring. It's like they look and they quickly look away. It's like you could tell a lot about a person with like if they stare or if they look at you and smile Or if they look at you and just look away as if you're like a regular person. It's like you learn a lot about people. And I've learned a lot about people just having this condition. It's like you really could spot out like who's a good person and who will like take the time to get to know you, as opposed to people that really are just very surface, fake, like, you know, vain, and really don't care about that stuff.
Yeah, wow, that is so inspiring. And it brings me back to a conversation I had with my coach the other day. She was talking about a ladder, the ladder of like society, the ladder of patriarchy.
Mhm.
And, you know, they've created the ladder for us to climb up. And of course, at the top of the ladder, you've got white, slim, able-bodied, pretty people and all
Mhm.
these things. And then what most of us spend our lives doing, most of us, not all of us, thank God, I've got
Mhm.
off the ladder, although I think I was hanging on still a little bit. You don't realize
Mhm.
what you're doing. And then
Yeah.
we keep trying to climb this ladder. But the whole point of the ladder is that the ladder's like a triangle. So as you get close to the top, it gets narrower because that's the whole point. It's really hard to be at the top. But of course, the whole point in climbing the ladder is because you spend money trying to get there. And
Mhm.
we think that we have to be a certain way, look a certain way, earn a certain amount of money, be married by this age, have babies by this age, like, and we spend so much of our energy trying to get to the top of this ladder when if we just get off the damn ladder.
Yeah, right? You're so right. It's like we have these societal expectations of ourselves, like these like internal expectations of who we need to be to gain the worth, to gain the happiness, to gain the confidence. Like, oh, once I lose the weight, then I'll be confident. Then I'll finally accept myself. And it's like, no, it's like confidence, like self-esteem is like accepting all of you. It's like just like you would a friend. It's like, you know, if a friend gained some weight, you wouldn't be like, ooh, now you're good enough, like you've gained some weight, or oh, you don't have that job, you're just not good enough. It's like, no, you see the person for all they are. And then even taking it a step further, it's like those little like quirks about them, like the negative, like the quote unquote negative things, you actually embrace them because you're like, this is who you are. Like one of my friends actually, was funny this morning, she lives in Barcelona, she just texted me and we were talking and she said, yeah, you know, like, you know, she's kind of like an airhead like I am. Like she said that. And it's so true because she could be a little bit like, you know, airheady or whatever. But it's funny in that moment, I'm like, yeah, but I love that about her because that's what makes her her. It's like, you know, accepting every part of you and not waiting for something to change to then finally say, now I love myself. Now I accept myself. It's like, no, like, you know, this is who I am, take it or leave it. Like it's, you know, whether it's the outer shell, the inner, whatever it might be, it's like, that's where like the true confidence lies and like accepting every part of you and loving yourself despite the weaknesses or what you deem to be like not good enough.
Oh, that you've answered my second question, which was what does confidence mean to you? And
Mhm.
that was such a powerful answer. And I 100% believe that. And also talking about body image specifically, you
Mhm.
know, like when we tend to look in the mirror, we usually kind of stand the same way. We look at ourselves in the way we always have done. We
Mhm.
don't, if someone looks in the mirror and doesn't think they're pretty, they don't see themselves laughing and smiling and
Mhm.
making a joke and just being alive in life with other people and interacting with other people. We don't see that about ourselves. So
Right.
just one snapshot of you standing looking in the mirror trying to pick apart your appearance,
Mhm.
it's, you know, it's not even as 1% of who you are.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's like, you know, times, and I was just saying this in a live, it's like, you know, you meet someone and it's like, you know, like I've met like men before that I'm like, oh, they're so good looking, like they're so attractive, you know, and like that's what initially, like, you know, obviously maybe draws you to someone a little bit more. Like you might see and like, oh, wow, like they have a nice smile. But then you end up getting to know them and like they're just not a good person, or maybe they're just like not like those inner qualities. And like as you get to know them, they become less attractive to you on the outside, as opposed to like those people that you meet that you're like, wow, like this man is like driven, this man is motivated, this is a good person. Like now you're really attractive to me, you know. It's like that outer shell, it's like sure that might like bring you to someone, but like it will never keep you there. It's really the internal that's like the most important. It's like at the end of the day when looks are gone and they fade and you're like 80 years old, like what's going to matter? It's going to be what's on the inside. Like that's how you're going to connect with someone.
Oh yeah, and it's all about the persona, the energy, the, like you're saying, it's everything about them. It's the way they hold themselves, the way they make you feel. It's everything. It's not just about, and I totally get, like, we can all look at other people, women and men, and think they're beautiful, or, you know, he's so good looking, his body's insane, but it stops there. It doesn't matter. I would much rather, I mean, I'm very biased because my fiance, I think is personally gorgeous, but like you say, you don't see that anymore. You see him as a person, and how, you know, we live together. It's so much more than that. And if only, like, the women I work with, and of course when they finish working with me, they do see this, but when the amount of women I speak to that are in so much pain internally because, you know, they think people perceive them the way they perceive themselves. And that is not the case, because, you know, whatever we judge within ourselves, we automatically decide other people are judging that about us too. And that's not the case. So when we change the perception of ourselves, like, your whole external world changes. Isn't it amazing? Like, the inner work that we do,
Yes.
everything changes, and you just become like free.
So true. It's like, it's so true. I think it was, another book that I would add to the repertoire would be Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yeah.
Did you read that one? Oh my gosh, I love that one. But it really is, as far as like who we identify as, is so important and key to like changing like our outside world. If like we tell ourselves not good enough, like we're going to see it all around us, like all of the social proof. And I think that what you're saying is so important. It's like, you know, even in my journey, I feel like, and, you know, my journey that's still continuing and will continue until the day I die. It's like, you know, I feel like so much of the confidence piece, like people used to look at me and say, she's confident. Like, you know, I was talking with one of my friends the other day and we were talking about confidence. He's like, you've always been a confident person. And I'm like, God, that's such an interesting, like, I've always been like an outwardly pretty confident person, like, you know, talkative, like, you know, I love like conversation, like, you know, pretty confident, but on the inside, there were a lot of like, you know, low self-esteem struggles of not being good enough. And it's interesting because we look at people and we think they're confident. And it's like, we have no idea like what's going on the inside. Just like we look at people that are happy and smiling. And I look at like periods of time in my life where I looked like I was happy. I was actually probably smiling even more. Like, look at me smiling. I'm not miserable right now. I'm not unhappy. I'm not like, you know, waking up and feeling like I don't want the day to even begin. Like, you would never know. And it's like, we never know what anyone is feeling about themselves as far as confidence. But I think that through my own journey of building that confidence, like I've realized, like, and when I told you that before, where I said that, you know, confidence is really accepting all of you, it's because I saw that in myself. Like, I saw that I was what people thought as confident, but it really wasn't until I could look at myself in the mirror and be happy with who I was. Like, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. It matters what you think. And I think that so much of confidence is also centered around like what you value. It's like, if I'm valuing like, you know, not drinking and I'm drinking left and right, like I'm going to feel shitty about myself. Excuse my language. You might have to edit that out.
Oh, no, we don't edit on this.
Okay. So I apologize if you're not editing and I just said a bad word.
Oh, no, I swear all the time. It's all good.
Oh, okay. All good. So yeah, it's like, you know, if I'm valuing like deep, meaningful relationships, but I'm not making time for my friends and family and I'm not there for them when they're calling me, or if I value being healthy in whatever healthy might mean to me, and I'm not aligning my behaviors and actions with that, that's going to make us feel really crummy. And so that's like a huge go-to with like my clients is like, what do you value? Like, let's talk about that, because what you and I value are two completely different things. Like, you might value being at home and spending time with like your husband. Whereas like for me, I value that, but I also value like adventures, exploring, doing other things. So it's like what works for me might not work for someone else. Finding out what we value, but then aligning our behaviors and our actions with those very values. So look in the mirror, we can say, you know what, this is important to me. And I'm important enough that I'm going to keep the promise to myself to do what I think is important. And so it's like, and it's really about like those promises to yourself. It's like, you know, when someone says, oh, I'm going to go out with you to the gym, and then they constantly cancel on you, like, to feel about them. You're not going to trust them. You're not going to feel like they're a good friend. And so just the same on ourselves. It's like, if we value something, it's important to us. And time again, we're not showing that to ourselves. We're not going to trust ourselves. We're not going to feel good about ourselves, just like we wouldn't a friend. It's like the same type of feeling. So it's so important to actually do what you value, whether it's growing, learning, getting yourself out of your comfort zone. Like even being on a podcast, like my first podcast, I was super nervous, but I said yes because I knew like it's in line with what I want to be. It's in line with what I want to do. It's in line with what I want to give to other people. I want to inspire others. Like who would I be? How would I feel about myself if I said no? You know?
Yeah. Well, I literally feel like this is like a mic drop. Like let everything she's just said just like sink in a minute. Like I'm just literally, I can't nod anymore. I'm like, hell yes, hell yes,
Oh,
hell yes.
you're
And
so
what
cute.
I want to add on from values, like before I started personal development, and anyone watching, if you don't know what your values are, find them, because no matter what, if you don't know what your values are, you have values whether you know or not. So if you're living out of alignment with them, you're going to feel shit or crummy, whatever word you want to use. So
Yeah.
how important is it to get conscious of what your values are?
And you know what, actually, Victoria, a really good exercise that I actually learned from a very good life coach in my town, that, you know, because you said like, as far as your values, sometimes if you ask that, like if I were to ask that to a client, what are your values? It's like, let me think about that. A really good exercise that he told me was think about three people that you look up to. So three people, obviously you value them. Well, what do you value about them? And characteristics. And then those are your values. Those are the things that you value. So like, oh, I value the fact that this person is a really good person and they are integrity. Like I value that. So then what do I need to do and behave and align with? I need to tell the truth. I need to be true to myself. Like, so it's like something that sounds so basic and simple, but at the end of the day, that's how you could find your values, align your behaviors, and then feel comfortable and confident in your actions.
Wow. Yeah, what a great tip. Absolutely. I remember doing a values assessment. I do them all the time because I like kind of little quizzes as well. You can do them online.
Right.
And
Oh, yes. I
they
love those.
and you're like, oh no, I've got to choose now between spirituality and love. Like, is this a joke?
Which one did you choose?
I chose spirituality because that is love.
Yo, I love that.
That is love.
It
Absolutely.
is. That's so funny that you're saying that, because I was actually just reading something about like people that are connected like spiritually. And it was just so interesting. And one of the things, and that's so funny that you're saying this, I always feel like things are like full circle, but one of the characteristics of like a full blown like spiritual connection with someone was exactly that. It's like you love them so much that like you're willing to do whatever, like you're willing to forgo like yourself, like to make them feel happy or do things for them, you know, and that's like a true sign of like the spiritual connection. So that's it.
Because we all are, I believe every single one of us is love. In our purest form, we are all love. So then what is spirituality? It is love. So to me, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But you brought up the word integrity. I want to share something that I was in a group coaching by Sophia LePage. She's amazing. She's like a feminine embodiment coach. And we talked about the word integrity, and integrity of the masculine and integrity of the feminine are two different things. So I want to know your views on this. So integrity with the masculine is, for example, say if I had this meeting with you today and my integrity would be to keep the meeting, of course, but then in our feminine, if for instance, I was on my bleed and I was feeling like I wanted to come inwards, do I keep the integrity to myself as a woman and actually reschedule the meeting? Or do I keep integrity from the masculine energy and show up anyway?
Oh, I love that. That comes to mind is like permission. Like as women, I think that we are so used to being the nurturers and doing at the expense of ourselves and putting ourselves on the back burner. So like what comes to mind is, well, first of all, the fact that, you know, men and women are just hardwired differently. Like we're just different human beings. And I think that the more that people realize that, you don't have that resistance in a relationship, in a marriage. It's like you accept the person for who they are. Like you're a man, like you're just wired different, you know? And so this just brings it all home. It's like integrity alone. It's like, we're going to react differently. Feelings, like, you know, men might like get confused with their feelings, or men might, you know, it's hard for them to process them, as opposed to women. Like, you know, we are very in touch with our feelings, and, you know, most of us on the whole. So yeah, I could definitely see that. But what comes to mind is like the permission. Like, I think that for so many people and clients and just people that I'm around and my sisters, like it's the permission that you give yourself. Because, you know, that it's good for you. So like you said, it's like, you know, if you know that like this is going to be good for you to go inwards, to take time to yourself, it's good for your being, then it's like say yes to yourself. And it's like I just was saying this, it's like the yes versus the no. It's like we're so freely as women giving yeses out. Yes, 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 without even thinking about it, and like allowing ourselves to like give ourselves a break at the expense of our sanity. And so to be so free of our yeses, it just doesn't free up the time that we need to like follow our dreams, our passions, and what have you. I think so many women are like, God, I'm already doing so much. How am I going to be able to do even more? And it's like, if you actually clean up your life a little bit and you start saying no more, you will free up that time. Like, is it depleting of your energy? Are you walking away from people and you're feeling just like low mood, like, you know, low energy? Or is it lighting you up? Like, it's as simple as like making a list, like what lights you up? Like, you know, that's something that I love to ask, like, what lights you up? What makes you smile? What energizes you? What it like, do you feel passionate and meaningful about? Like, do more of that. It's as simple as like, do more of that, do less of this. And like, you know, but in so many words, and in response to your question, I hands down would, you know, agree with that. It's like men and women are just built differently. So I totally get that. And it's funny because as you're talking about like, okay, men's response is just like, okay, I have this meeting. Okay, don't cancel it. It's just like more basic, right? And I think that that's kind of like verbalizing things too. I think that men can be a lot more literal as opposed to women. When we're saying things, it's like we could perceive them, translate them in different ways, as opposed to like, if we say it to a man, it's just like, okay, that's very literal, like more basic here, straightforward, which I think like men tend to be a little bit more of, as opposed to a woman that's like, oh, well, this appointment here, and like these are my needs, and like, if I go into my true being, like, what would I give permission? So it's just interesting. It's very similar to feelings. It's like feelings are hard to process for men. I'm confused with these feelings, whatever. Whereas women are just like, all the feelings, let's talk about our feelings. So we're just built differently. So I could definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I used to be scared of my emotions, but I've learned over the years that our emotions are our power as women.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to us to deliver them in a way that we feel is appropriate, you know, to whatever circumstance we're in. But we
Mm-hmm.
must feel them and we must express them. You know, gone are the days when my partner will say, "What's wrong?" And there's clearly something wrong, and I'll go, "Well, nothing," and then he'll ask me like 4 times. Nothing, and then he stops asking, and then you go off in like a mard for like an hour thinking, well, it's obvious.
Yeah, right.
Nobody's
Oh my gosh. Or it's like nothing, because we want them to care enough to
yeah.
constantly ask us until finally, like after the 10th time, we're like, all right, well, you cared enough to keep on asking me. So I'm going to tell you now. Right? It's like we just want to feel like they care. And like, yeah.
Oh, it's so true. And I love what you said. And I want to share something that happened today, actually, about you saying yes to yourself. I had one of my clients reach out to me in my group coaching, and she said, does anyone struggle with things now? Because she's in the UK and England's opening up a little bit more. And so she said, I'm feeling anxious about going out and starting to do things. So how do I know whether that's like something to lean into or something to say no to? So I said, okay, so in my opinion, as human beings, we act from either love or fear. That's it. So when you're tuning in, are you not wanting to go to the place because you honestly don't want to be around the people? You just don't want to say no because you feel bad? Or are you only saying no because you're anxious about what people will think of you? So in my opinion, if it's the fear, anxious of what people will think of you, then I encourage her to lean into that, because that's where you can build, get outside your comfort zone, take action. But then if it was the first option, whereas I'm actually not really wanting to, I just feel bad saying no, or I don't like the people, then that's the time to say no. So it's all about connecting within, isn't it? Only you know the true answer if
Right.
you're from love or fear.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. It's like, you know, like if the anxiety wasn't here, would you want to go or not? Like it's a simple, you know, it's like, what if this anxiety wasn't here? Would you enjoy yourself? Would you like feel like this is something you'd want to do? Or like you said, like, do you just want to be at home doing your own thing? So yeah, I mean, what really just I'm thinking is like you just have to be true to yourself. It's like you have to be true to what you want. people's expectations of you, societal expectations. They don't need to become like who you are. It's like, you know, I was talking with someone that had reached out to me, and I just like, it pained me because she was saying that her parents want her to be with someone and she wants to be with someone else, and like she's really in love with them. And I thought to myself, wow, like, you know, the fact that there are people that like want to be with someone and they're like in love with someone and they're not because of other people's expectations of them, and that she might live her one and only life with someone that like she, yeah, maybe likes them, but like not with someone that like she really wants to spend the rest of her life with. It's just like, it's so sad, you know, like those expectations like really could just affect someone's life for the worse, like for the rest of their lives. And then it's like, you know, everything's said and done. Like when you think about it, it's like you live life one time. We're so concerned with like people not liking us, with being judged, and like all of these extra things that like it just strips us away from like the life that we could be living. And so like when you're talking about like the love and like I forget what the word was that you used, but like the love, like when you like before it gets like tainted or before life gets in the way, it's like, yeah, we're like all born like that. And then like slowly but surely, like we turn into these people that are like guarded, or well, I have to do this way and da da da. And it's like, just freaking be free.
Yes. Isn't it funny how, like, you know, when we're born with unconditional love for ourselves and everything else. We're born with unwavering confidence. Like we walk in, I mean, obviously walking into the middle of the road, our parents have got to show us those kind of
All
things.
right.
And then we unlearn all of that as we go through life, because we get taught not to put your hand up when you want to speak, or not to speak out. Sorry, you've got to put your hand up, or make sure you dress appropriately because X, Y. And then when we get to the stage of life where we're at, where we're doing the personal development, we go back to the state we was when we were first born.
Yeah, right. You're so right. Oh my God, I love that. That's so true, right? It's like
Yeah.
all about this self-development and what works. And it's like, I just always imagine like a child skiing. That's like the best way of looking at it. It's like you look at a child skiing and they're just like going down that hill at like Mach speed, whatever, not a fear in the world. Like, I'm just living my life. Like, you live your life around me because I'm doing my thing and you're just going to like march to the beat of my own drum. And it's like, and then, yeah, like then life gets in the way, but then you do self-development, you work on yourself. And then all of a sudden you're like back to where you were. It's like, hey, I deserve this. I'm going to say no to that. I'm going to say yes to this because this is great for me. I'm going to surround myself with awesome people. And I don't need to have these other people around. Why? Like if they're not making me feel good about myself, I can move on from them. It's all good. And yeah, it's like you learn what works for you and what doesn't. And as you get older, you're like, life is short. I'm just going to live my life. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to like do more of the things that make me smile and my heart smile, and like less of the things that I should be doing.
Yes, that word should. I remove it from my own vocabulary and that of my clients. And I still catch myself sometimes, but I invite the client to say, instead of saying, oh, I really should do this or I should have done that, how about you could or you get to?
I do the same thing. I do the same thing. Yes, totally. And I've said that too. Yes. And it's funny because Tony Robbins, I don't know if you remember, he actually says exactly that. People should this, and they should all over themselves instead of like SHIT all over themselves. And it's so true. It's like, I should do this. And it's like, no, I could have done that, but I just decided not to. It's like the heaviness and the burden of the should word. Why? Why should you say yes to that 50th plan?
It comes back to, and I remember I called it the dark night of the soul. Like I'm sure you've been through a similar thing. And when I first started personal development, I remember Wouter, my fiance, saying to me, he wasn't my fiance at the time, he said to me, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, honestly, no matter how much I dug deep, thought about it, I was literally like, I don't know. And the feeling of not knowing why I was here was the worst feeling in the world. And the only reason, I don't know where I was even going with this, but the only reason I got through that was just to like follow the little bit of the breadcrumb that was in front of me, which was like, listen to this podcast. And then this podcast was like having a guest on the Model Health Show. Oh, we've got this coach certification around food and spirituality. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Then you follow the signs. But when he first said to me, like, what do you want to do? And I had absolutely no idea.
because you probably felt like I should know. And so that made you feel like what we were talking about, like should, like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I should know. And it's like, I don't. So now I feel like a big fat failure because I should know and I don't know. Right. It reminds me of here in America. You have like 4 years college. The first 2 years are liberal arts, where it's just like a smorgasbord of all different subject matter. And then you choose your like what you want to do. And it's like, for me, like I always knew I wanted to be a teacher ever since I was like, I don't know, like 4 or 6 or whatever it was. So that was something that I knew I'm going to, like, school for education. But I did have people that like I actually went to school with, and they were very hard on themselves too, because they were like, I should know, like I should be able to decide what my major is. I don't know. And they put a lot of pressure on themselves, like you're saying.
Yeah, that was it. It came back to me what I was wanting to. I don't know why I started with there, but it was all meant to be. It's about taking the power back for yourself. Like I was kind of waiting for, like, not literally, but a man in a white horse to like come and save me and give me the life I've always wanted and make me feel happy. And then when I was like doing all this inner work, and I was like, shit, the only way I can be happy is if I make myself happy first.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay, this is really scary because I feel extremely lonely and lost right now. But then when you get over that, in all that pain of like, my whole life's been a lie, all these limiting beliefs are here, is that even true? And then you believe and realize that everything starts with self, and we have the power individually to do whatever we want. Then it goes from feeling lost to liberation and empowered AF, and just like, hell yes.
Yeah, I love that. Definitely. Yeah, you're so right. It's like once you make that decision and you know that like it's possible and you could change, it like becomes like at that moment, it's like how exciting. Like you're like almost inspiring yourself of like what could happen. Like the possibilities are endless of who I could be as a person, how I could feel, what thoughts I'm going to like actually like decide to buy into, as opposed to the ones that I'm going to be like, screw you. You're trying to keep myself like, safe or whatever, your brain. It's like, no, you have a choice all the time, like how you react to things, what thoughts you buy into, the people you surround yourself with. It's like the possibilities are endless of who you could be. It's just really a matter of like how you're going to do that, and like what you're going to choose to believe, what you're choose to do, what you're going to choose to engage in.
That's it. And what would your, I know you gave us so many tips already, but if you had to choose 3 tips for someone that was wanting to better their self-confidence but doesn't kind of know where to start, what would your top 3, what would they be?
Great question. Great question. I always say that, it's really the inner work that really is the most important, because I think that, and I think we might have spoken about this on our live, but it's really, the stories that we tell ourselves, the experiences that we've had, things have been ingrained in our mind for years upon years. Someone tells us that we're not smart when we're 6 years old. We gain all the social proof, all of the evidence throughout the course of years upon years, ingraining that in our mind, in our brain, in our soul, that we're not smart enough, and it becomes a belief. So really, I like just getting to that area, that period of time, whenever that happened, and really like diving deep into that and doing the inner work is so important. Like, what are the stories that you're telling yourself? Where does this come from? Just even gaining insight into that small piece of like, where did this start off? It's like, ooh, let me point that out. Yeah. Like, and it's like, it gives it less power and more awareness. So I feel like the inner work is so important, but I would say that my top are the one that I told you before. So like what you value, so important. It's like you lead with your values, you circle around strengths and you embrace those. So, they say that as far as if you want someone to build confidence, don't try to bring the weaknesses up, work on the strengths, like harness the strengths. So it would be to align with your values, with your behaviors and your actions. Hands down, get out of your comfort zone would be my second. And then third, I would say, and really with that second one, it's like, just get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable time and time again, and like fail forward, like look at failure as a lesson opportunity, and not like, I'm a failure, but more so like a learning lesson. And then third, I would probably say, really just like who you surround yourself with. Like, it's like surround yourself with people. And I firmly believe, and I was always so curious as to, why did I have this facial deformity? And, I went through, at least 12 surgeries. I've lost count now. It might have even been 15.
Wow.
so many surgeries, and it's like, and, periods of time in your life where you don't want to be going through something like that. Like, when I would have a surgery, they would put more fat. And so it's like, imagine like walking around with that when you're a teenager and like having to deal with that, or like people saying like, what's wrong with her face, mommy? Because, children will say things. Or even teaching elementary, like I would walk into a classroom and the kids would be staring. It's like, you learn real fast how to get out of your comfort zone because you're doing it every day. You have no choice, right? But I thought to myself, like, why did I end up like not like the kind of person that let it dictate their lives? Like, why? And I researched, I was so interested. I'm always very like, almost like obsessed with psychology. Like I'm very passionate about it, and just like learning why people are the way that they are. Like, why wasn't I the person in my support group for this condition that like has let it really dictate their lives? And one of the things was who you surround yourself with. It's like constantly growing up was surrounded by friends that like never made me feel like they saw the outside. It was always the inside, and they like valued me and loved me for who I was. Just like my parents, they never made it a thing. It was as if it didn't even exist. It was like I had that underlying acceptance and love like all around me all the time. And also my father was just, and I got a lot from my father, but a very positive person. Like it's just, just be yourself. Like, it's okay. Like, everything's going to work out okay. And I get a lot of that from him. But I really firmly believe confidence is like choosing the people that are right for you, that love you for all of you, because it's just a constant reminder when you're around them that like, I'm good enough. Like, I have these quirks. I could be an airhead. I could be this, but like, they love me regardless. And like, it's just more social proof that like, I'm lovable, I'm awesome. Like, and really I could be authentic. I could be vulnerable. I could tell them the things that I don't like about myself, and they're going to be like, okay, no big deal. Like, you did this like stupid behavior last night. No big deal. I still love you. Like when you're surrounded by that all the time, and not that's like, oh God, like you did that. Like how different, to be surrounded by the people that like just constantly love you and have your back. It's like, that's huge, I think.
Oh, and I don't think you're awesome. I know you're awesome and amazing. And
Oh my God.
so
You're so cute.
so inspiring. Have
Thanks.
you read the book More Than a Body by the two twins, Lexi and I should know the names. I'm sorry, I'm not quoting this. I will put it.
No.
I recommend every single person listening to this right now, listening to it back, whatever, read this book. It's called More Than a Body.
Okay.
And it basically talks about how, a bit like the ladder, she doesn't use the word the ladder of like the society, but about how we all feel like we need to look and be a certain way. And even, I mean, I even address you as beautiful, which is a compliment, but then actually if beauty can build us up, it can also tear us down. So like my challenge to the listeners today is to give a woman in your life a compliment that has nothing to do with how they look. Because even though it's so ingrained in us to say, oh, you look nice, or have you lost weight?
Yes.
That's the most famous one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Honestly,
Totally.
the amount of times my mum said that to me, I'm like, that means I'm freaking out thinking, was I fat before then?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's so funny, right? You're like, what was I before? Yeah.
So it's about seeing each other for more than a body, because as this conversation's been, we're a lot more than just our physical appearance. Like the impact you have, Alexandra, on the world today, if you had stayed small and felt sorry for yourself and been like, why me? You've thought this has been a gift to me, and I'm going to go out and live my life and inspire others. And I feel emotional, like trying to get my words out, but I just want to say, like, you are the biggest inspiration. I don't know you properly, but I love you to death.
Oh,
I'm so grateful for you being here. So I would love for you to share how people can connect with you and work with you and all the things.
You're so cute. You're going to make me cry. First of all, I just want to say I love you dearly too. It's like, it's amazing how you meet people and you just connect with them and you just get like such a good energy and a vibe from them. And I can tell the second I started talking with you, like you're just such a good person. And, it's like so cute. Like I always just like see like a little girl in you, like you just like are smiling and just vibrant. I love that. And just like a lot of love. So just wanted to say that too. But I think that the best way to find me is it's easy, Coaching with Alexandra. My name's Alexandra. So you can find me on Instagram there, and through there you could find my profile, and it's the same on Facebook too. So it's super simple, Coaching with Alexandra. And then through there you can connect with me or what have you, if anyone wanted to, or just follow.
Amazing. You are incredible. Thank you so much. And it's
Yeah.
just the morning for you where you are. So have
Yeah.
the best day.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad we made this happen. This is so, I love it. It's just like nice to have people asking me questions too, and like just talk, you know, I'm usually on the other end. So, and a great conversation. So thank you.
All right, beautiful. So I said it again, but you are beautiful. So I'm just going to say it. Thank you. And anyone listening, if you have any questions, please pop them on the live. That's going to be shared on my Facebook. And me and Alexandra will get back to you. And I wish you all an amazing day as well. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.